India created Aadhaar, right? The UPI thing, right? And because of it, a farmer who 10 years ago, who did not even know how to use a cell phone, right? Who could not even open a bank account, can actually take payments, right? This is a beautiful infrastructure that has been created. But the same farmer used AI, right? With agronomy, with all the physical AI models, says that here is a crop, right? If you get enough rain, enough sunlight, enough fertilizer, the crop will be a lot more powerful. So make AI real for the farmer. Make AI real for children.
We are here at the India Innovation Impact Summit. I'm here with Prith Banerjee. Prith is here. He's one of the great leaders in terms of AI. Prith, we have a global audience that has been listening in who have not been able to come here. Tell them a little bit about yourself and why are you here at this summit?
Absolutely. So I am the Senior Vice President of Innovation at Synopsys, and prior to that I used to be CTO at Ansys. And in my role, I'm driving a lot of AI, adoption of AI in the chip design and chips to systems area. So at this summit, I'm representing Synopsys to kind of talk about, share with the audience about what is the opportunity in this area at what we call silicon designed, software defined, and AI enabled. That is the future of chips to systems. So when you look at this, at a system like a car today, it has like 10 million lines of code on the car. But those lines of code runs on an ECU, an embedded control unit, which is designed by Synopsys, traditional Synopsys. But there's a software that is running on that, and that software is AI powered. And then the car, as it goes around, you have to model the physics of the car, and that is done with the Ansys simulation. So I'm incredibly excited about it. I have been talking about how AI is being used to speed up simulation, to make our tools easier to use, but just an incredible amount of excitement in India at this conference about the Global South, about how AI can be used responsibly.
That's fantastic. Prith, you have an incredible background from IIT Kharagpur to leading. You've been an entrepreneur, you've worked as a CTO of leading companies. Going from IIT Kharagpur there to coming back to seeing India from this perspective, what is your view of this journey? Because tell our viewers a little bit about your journey, because it's probably, I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of guests, but you have an incredible journey. Tell our viewers a little bit.
So I consider myself very, very fortunate. So I did my undergraduate from IIT Kharagpur in India, and I was the President's Gold Medalist, which is I'm number one in my batch. And then I went to the US to do my PhD at the University of Illinois. And when I finished my PhD, I had chances to join various companies and various universities, but I stayed back at Illinois. And I had a wonderful 12 years at the University of Illinois, moving through the ranks, became a full professor, then went to Northwestern University, was a department head, became a dean of engineering at the University of Illinois. So I spent 20 wonderful years in academia, working with more than 35 PhD students, 300 papers. But what I lacked was, I was doing all this research, but it was not really having an impact to society. So that's where I entered phase 2 in my career, where I did 2 startups like you, where I raised money from VCs, created a team, built a product, and sold both the companies, Excel Chip to Xilinx and Binary Chip to Quickstream Media. So, and then I attended the third phase in my career with the large corporates. And the first job I had was running HP Labs worldwide. HP at that time was $100 billion company, the largest computer company in the world. I ran that HP Labs. And then I became group CTO at ABB. I was based in Zurich in Switzerland. Then I was group CTO at Schneider Electric, based in France. And then I joined Ansys as a group CTO 7 years ago, and now I'm at Synopsys. So it's been a wonderful journey. But through that, what I've learned is how companies can practice innovation. And I have written a book called Innovation Factory, which is about that journey about how innovation happens in academia, in startups, and the large corporate world.
So people should go, is it on Amazon?
It is on Amazon.
So this man knows a lot about innovation. As I said, his career arc is, I've literally interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people. It's a very unique career arc. So please go and check out his book. Trick is briefly for our listeners who don't know, what is the logic behind Synopsys acquiring Ansys? Tell our listeners about that, because now it's for a $35 billion company now.
It's a great, thank you for the question. So what Synopsys used to be is a company for doing electronic design automation of chips. So when you look at a chip from, say, NVIDIA or Intel or AMD or Broadcom, right? These used to be, maybe had 1 million transistors in the chip. Now they're having 1 billion transistors to up to 1 trillion transistors. The complexity of chips are increasing. And Synopsys had tools to help design those analog and digital chips. In addition, they had a very strong portfolio of what is called intellectual property, IP blocks, right? So when you have a chip, you have IP blocks like an Ethernet controller or a HBM or whatever. So about 4 billion of Synopsys business was the electronic design automation tools. 2 billion of the business was the IP blocks. And so that combination was 6 billion to allow companies like, as I said, the NVIDIAs, Intels, Broadcoms, Qualcomms to design these really complicated chips. But what has happened is these chips are not chips themselves. They are going into systems. When you look at a car, right, the car has all kinds of complicated electronic chips, and it is the software that is running on the car is allowing you to run it autonomously, right? The Waymo cars that are going around streets of San Francisco, right? They are being powered by software. So that software is running on the ECU, and that is doing the controls of that car. But then the car is working in the physical environment, right? It has external aerodynamics, right? So you have to worry about the wind pressures and so on. You can crash the car into something. It has electromagnetic interactions. So the physical part of the car or the airplane was modeled by Ansys. Ansys was a leading system simulation company, about 3 billion in revenue. But we are only doing the system simulation part. As the industry is moving from chips to system, these chips are going inside systems. You can actually optimize the entire system together holistically, like a software-defined vehicle or a software-defined airplane. For example, look at the Artemis mission that NASA is spending a new aircraft to moon. They are actually using the Synopsys Ansys software to do a full digital mission engineering. Here is the path from going from Florida all the way to moon and back. And then we are modeling the full physics of the spacecraft and the software running on the spacecraft and the software running on the chip on the software. So this is the incredible opportunity of chips to systems. And so the combined company now, Synopsys is a 6 billion, Ansys 3 billion is a 9 billion, but is now going towards a $10 billion company. We are a market cap of around 100 billion. It's an incredible opportunity, and my role as SVP of Innovation is to drive newer solutions between the two companies. Some examples are we are working on digital twins for semiconductor manufacturing. We are sitting here in India, and Prime Minister Modi talked about the investment in semiconductors. As there are fabs coming in from Tata Electronics, right, or Micron in India, there are fabs that are going in Dholera in Gujarat, right? I was just talking to the gentleman from Tata Electronics yesterday at a reception. We have now the capability of creating a digital twin of an entire semiconductor manufacturing plant.
Wow.
Manufacturing plants from Tata, from Micron, from TSMC, Intel, etc. Right? Another example, digital twin of an entire automobile or a digital twin of an entire spacecraft system. So these are very, very interesting opportunities that we are working on.
And has real life implications. One of the things that you have worked on is physical AI.
Yes.
Explain to our leaders, listeners, because that's something Dr. Fifi Lee and others are working on. First, what is physical AI? Why is your interest in what are you doing? Because it is really at the cutting edge of things, and you are always been at the cutting edge of things.
Absolutely. So the world of AI that we know is, right? So AI is basically, you look at a child, right? You teach a child, here is how you drink from a glass, and the kid learns. So essentially it's about training and learning. That's the basic of it, right? But then, and people, and you and I have both worked in AI for the last 30, 40 years with programming languages, Lisp and so on. But AI went through a transformational process with these deep neural networks and all the stuff on the attention networks that came out in 2022. But then it was still in the research age. But then ChatGPT happened in 2022 and everybody started eating ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT? ChatGPT uses words as tokens, right? So you have a sentence like Mary has a little, and you know the next word is lamb, or I wish you a Merry, and the next word is Christmas. So what ChatGPT has done, these large language models has done, they have scraped through the internet, through all the prose, all the text, every book, every magazine article, and they have put that into the large language models using words as tokens. But then OpenAI has said, okay, you can do this with images. So now you scrape through all the images in the world. And so with Gen AI, you can now create new images, like you can create the picture of this thing. You can just give some prompts and say, create a picture of an AI summit with Prime Minister Modi's picture and so on. So it will create that picture. That is using images as tokens. The same thing Sora does, and that is done with DALL-E. Sora does with videos as tokens. So you can create a video of 1,000 monkeys running with dancing with elephant in Serengeti Desert, right? It is not, you're not doing a Google search on a video, you're creating the video. So now physical AI is using the physics around us, right? This is what we do, right? We observe things. Here is a sunlight coming in here, because of it, I'm getting heated up, or I'm banging this. This is a physical thing, or a airflow going through. These are using 3D fields, pressure, temperature things as tokens. So you could go and measure all of those things in the world, in the real world. That is the world of physics, right? And so now all those physical things, if you could measure and train the AI, that is the world of physical AI. So the next journey is what is called world models. This is what Yoshi of IndiaAI also talked about yesterday in the summit. Fife Lee talks about it. It's the world models, the physical AI. And Ansys and Synopsys are uniquely positioned in that, because one way of doing it is you can actually physically measure the pressure, temperature of the weather, etc. Or you can simulate, you can create synthetic data for the world around us. That's what we are doing. We are in partnership with all the major cloud companies, all the AI companies, to create these physical AI models of the world around us. And once you have that, you can design a robot, right? A robot is trying to do robotic surgery. Robot is trying to do vacuum your floor, right? So that is interacting with the physical world, but the training of the robot brain is done with physical AI.
Wow. For potential entrepreneurs listening or around, you saw so many. What are the opportunities here for physical AI, world AI, or other things that you think they should be focusing on? You are head of innovation.
So, I mean, yesterday at the summit, again, NVIDIA, Jensen talks about the 5-layer cake, right? There's the infrastructure part, which is all the GPUs and so that you need, right? You need definitely GPUs on which these things run. But then these GPUs sit inside large cloud providers, right? Which is the Amazon, Microsoft, CoreWeave, etc. But then you have the model builders, right? The Anthropics, the Gemini, and ChatGPT and so on. But those were doing large language models, right? Using words as tokens. And I explained that now you have to do it with images as tokens, which is DALL-E, or Sora, which is videos as token. And so the physical AI is the physics-based stuff. So that's the model part. But then there are all these different models out there. And then people are now talking about in a world of AI as, hey, you can do can you do reasoning? Can you do agentic AI? So there's that layer on top, the workflow layer. And then there's the actual applications on top. So what I would like to share with you is something that Prime Minister Modi actually reached out to the entire audience yesterday. And Vinod Khosla, the head of Khosla Ventures, kind of summarized at the end of the day. And here is my plea. India created Aadhaar, right? The the UPI thing, right? And because of it, a farmer who 10 years ago, who did not even know how to use a cell phone, right? Who could not even open a bank account, can actually take payments, right? It's a beautiful infrastructure that has been created. But the same farmer used AI, right, with agronomy, with all the physical AI models, says that here is a crop, right? If you get enough rain, enough sunlight, enough fertilizer, the crop will be a lot more powerful. So make AI real for the farmer. Make AI real for children. I mean, Vinu Costa was talking about tutors, right? The people who are rich in India can afford to have private tutors, but the average person in the village cannot afford a private tutor. You can have an AI tutor bring to that kid in the village the latest knowledge, right? And interact with you. And actually, the AI tutor may be even better than the personal tutor. Or look at medicine, doctors, right? What do doctors do? They read a lot of books and they say, hey, I have a fever and I'm having a stomachache, and they do diagnosis. AI is really good at those things, right? So what I think the opportunity is, as I said, the 5-layer stack, work not only, you don't have to work at the lowest level of the GPU level or the cloud level or the model level. Work at the application level. Make an impact to society. See if you can have an impact to the farmer or to the patient or to these children. And that is the incredible opportunity. Each of these things, they may be worth $1 million, but there is a million such use cases. A million use cases times $1 million, that's $1 trillion opportunity. That is what startups in India need to work on.
Well, you heard it for the person who really knows a lot about innovation. Finally, Prith, a lot of world leaders were here, as you know, and some of them will be listening to this because this goes to policymakers. If you had 2 minutes with these world leaders, what would be your final message to them from this AI summit to the world leaders?
So, a very, very important thing from the summit was AI is an incredible opportunity. It is a really disruptive thing, but in the hands of rogue actors, it can be dangerous. I mean, actually, Sam Altman yesterday said that just like in the nuclear industry, nuclear power is really good, but nuclear power can be bad, right? You can do some bad thing. And so there is some regulatory authorities, right? The Atomic Energy Commission and so on, that actually control what countries can do with nuclear power. I think AI is in a similar situation. And what President Macron and Prime Minister Modi said yesterday is that yes, AI is really good, and there is these countries like India, US and China and so on, just going full steam ahead with AI. But the rest of the world, right? AI is so important to everybody, to India and the global South, and so we have to embrace AI safely, responsibly, and for that, there was an agreement that was signed yesterday, and I applaud the Prime Minister for doing this, but the message to the world leaders is AI is a fantastic technology, as important as electrification, as important as cloud and mobility impact, much more than this. But it is so powerful that there is a risk in using it in a wrong way. And so the governments need to create the right frameworks to use AI responsibly. But the other thing is make AI available to everybody. This was Prime Minister Modi's call to action. Just like the Aadhaar card allowed 1.5 billion people in India. And I use the Aadhaar card myself. I use it for all the electronic payments, right? Imagine a world in 2 to 3 years in the future, which is be AI powered tied to the Aadhaar. That is the opportunity for India and for other countries in the global South.
I think you heard it. He says innovation. He talked about physical AI. He talked about digital twins. But the final message to the leaders, to people is responsible innovation. And that's the opportunity. An opportunity is to provide AI to everyone, not just the elite few, whether it's a farmer, a student, or anyone else. Prith, thank you so much for being with us and getting your message out. And I hope you have the rest of a very successful trip. Thank you so
much for inviting me.
Thank you, Prith. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chief AI Officer podcast with Sanjay Puri. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to leave a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought. And share it with someone curious about the future of AI. Join us every Friday right here on the Kayo podcast as we share more stories and insights from the leaders shaping what's ahead.